So what's going on, guys? So I'm back here with the GTI with the 951 swap, and as you can see, we got the motor in. I've ran it for a little while, but I'm still running into hiccups. But I wanted to go ahead and do kind of a long-winded video. I've had a lot of people ask me, how did I do it? How did I make the support for the front motor mount, since the 717 was a square bolt style motor mounts, and then the 787 and the 951 is a triangle where you got two in the back and one in the front. I want to go ahead and apologize and say that I wanted to do more coverage on the swap, but I would come out here after work for a little bit, and then go inside and go to sleep, and then just kind of do it all over and over again and forget to pick up the camera. But so for anyone who's trying to do the swap, the first thing that I started out with was this template, which is these two corners are 85 mil apart, and it's 30 mil tall. And so I made those out of sheet metal, and then set those in the original motor mounts from the 717, and that started to give me my offset for where the motor needed to sit. And so in doing this, we kept using the alignment tool, and we just weren't there. So we realized that we needed to go higher in height, and so then this is 1/2 inch thick steel plate. It's 1/2 inch by 3 inch by 8 inch, and so then still we didn't have enough height, so then we added another 1/2 inch on top to cover up the rear holes, but not the front holes. This one's just kind of there. So then we were pretty much 1 inch thick by 8 inch by 3 inch, and that gave us plenty enough room on each side for all the holes to be drilled. And then that was the addition number 1, and that got us pretty close. So then we came and made an actual one, welded them all up, and as you can see, they are very rusted, which I'll get to that in a second. So these two holes go into the 717 original motor mount holes, and then I drilled and tapped these two holes here for the 951. So when you go to make these, just kind of drill your two 717 holes, and then sit the motor in the hole, get the alignment tool lined up, and then that should give you the shot to where you need to drill and tap these holes. So as you can see, I ran these for about 25 hours or so, and then it threw a drive shaft on me. And what happened is the drive shaft was just too tight. I didn't ever consider having the end play of the drive shaft. I didn't know that it needed end play at the time, because all of this is still a learning experience for me. And so then that threw a drive shaft, which this is drive shaft number 2 actually. I'll get to that in just a second. And so then we knew this worked, and we knew we just needed more play in the drive shaft. So coming to that, let me get my light. So if you look inside there, you can see all of the fiberglass and the piece of wooden wedge and the motor mount that's bolted to the piece of wood. And so the way that we did that was, if you can imagine this piece of wood, it's flat on top. This is a 4x4. I believe it's by 12 inches roughly, but you'll shape it to where you need to go. But left it flat on top, and then this is pretty much the contour of the bottom of the hole, to where it would sit flat in the hole for us to be able to bolt the motor to in the front. Well, on the original one that I fiberglassed into the hole, I didn't have enough room to go forward to give the drive shaft enough end play, so I had to grind it all out, build another one. That's why this one went in the burn barrel, but I pulled it out real quick for you guys. And so I made another one, and then put that in there, and then drilled 2 new holes for the front motor mount to have enough end play in the drive shaft. And so that's the front deal. That's what everybody's questioning me about, is how to do the front. My original plans were I was gonna build like a bridge across the hole and just cut into the hole and notch it in. But doing that was a lot better, a lot easier, and just more simple. It made the build a lot better, and everything's tightening all as one with all the fiberglass and everything. So then we get to these being rusted. So obviously I'm in Florida, so we do saltwater riding. And when my drive shaft went out, I was actually at the surf and got salt water inside that and had to pull the motor and everything and didn't have time for it. So I came up with making them out of aluminum. As you can see, these welds are pretty bad. I didn't feel confident in getting enough penetration in them. So I didn't go with those. I just went ahead, and I'll try to get it on camera. But if you can see down in there, there's pretty much just one huge block on both sides. And so what I did was I just kind of started with the half-inch plate and then stacking it just because I had this little scrap piece. But I was like, why can't I make the entire thing 1 inch and just call it a day? And so that's what I did. I went to the metal store, got a 1 inch thick by 3 inch by 8 inch block of aluminum, and that gave me plenty to drill in the back. And then I just drilled my 2 pilot holes to drill into the hole, and that gave me a lot of meat. So there was no step or anything like that. It was just one solid block of aluminum, and that's what I have going in the front, or in the rear, I'm sorry. So now that I had that 1 inch block, you're gonna go ahead, I used I believe it's a 3/16 shim on top of the 1 inch block, and then I used very small shims like this in the front and in the rear a little bit. So that gave me my height that I needed, it gave me structure that I needed, and everything like that. So then we come to, why am I throwing drive shafts? The first time that I threw a drive shaft, I didn't have enough end play. And then this drive shaft, which is drive shaft number 2, as you can see, I hope the GoPro can get it on film, it's eating the top, or it's eating the second section of the gears. It's eating the second section, and it completely ripped off the bumper. So that tells me that it got pushed too far forward and out of whack. And so if I take my drive shaft alignment tool, which I might not have enough room, so if I take my drive shaft alignment tool and go ahead and move this out of the way and get a light. So if you look down in there, that'll work. So the drive shaft alignment tool is not going in very far at all. It's supposed to pretty much be going in way on back here. So what happened is I've still been in the whole mentality of keeping everything removable so that if I needed to change anything or whatnot. And so I've been putting anti-seize on all my nuts and bolts for the motor mount. Didn't really think about it too much, and I'm pretty sure that the motor shifted on me somewhere and whatnot, and so that's what threw the drive shaft. So I went ahead and ordered a new drive shaft, new bumpers and whatnot, and so that'll be on the way, and then I'll be able to put it all back together. But so that's pretty much how I did the swap. The exhaust side, that's another big thing that we ran into. So with the GTI, with the 717 in it, the 2005 one that I have, the exhaust comes out on the right hand side right here. So originally the 717, the exhaust comes out on the left or on the right, swings out to the left and goes straight into the water box back here, and then comes over your big bellow and then goes to the resonator and then out the exhaust by the jet pump. right here to be specific. And so this swap would have been a lot easier with the 787 because it does come out on the right hand side, so it would have just made it a lot more simple. I didn't have a 787, so I worked with what I had. But as you can see, the 951 exhaust wraps around to the right hand side. So what we did was I went to Napa and got bits and pieces of hoses to go over the crossover to go. It's a lot of hose, I know. So I went from the right hand side, crossed over to the left hand side to go to the water box, and then it goes over the bellow and then out of the rear exhaust. You might be thinking that's gonna hit your drive shaft, you're gonna put a hole in the rubber or whatever or whatnot. But on the 951s, I'm not sure about the 787s, but on the 951 there's a guard that goes right on the back side of the PTO, and so my exhaust hose just sits on that, and it's pretty comfortable. It has it doesn't bump into anything or whatnot. So that's how we did the exhaust. I did have to, let me get my light again. I did have to notch the hole right there where the tip kind of came out, to be able to fit to be able to let that V-band right there sit comfortably. So that's something that we did have to do. That was really the only notching in the hole that I had to do. But other than that, everything pretty much set in place. The motor comes out in and out really easily. Like I said, we did the fiberglass kind of V deal in the back, or in the front, sorry. And then that was about it. But we're waiting on parts right now to go ahead and finish the build. But once I get some hours on it, and nothing goes wrong, and everything like that, I'm gonna strip everything back out of it, and I want to repaint it. I want to do like a black and blue, kind of like the new style GTRs and stuff like that. If you're wondering what prop I'm running, obviously I went to a bigger prop because I got a lot bigger motor. I can push a lot more water. This is a Concorde, or Solus Concorde 1520. I'm running right now 165 jets in the carburetors, but I want to bump up to a 167.5. But with the 165s, by GPS it's telling me I'm getting like 56 out of it, but I know that there's a lot more in the hole. I did also just go ahead and pick up a wedge, so I should be able to get maybe 1 or 2 more miles an hour out of that. But I've still been trying to figure out, is this the best prop for the hole? Because I've seen the GTXs, I think, like the newer, not newer style, but it's like a maroon and black GTX. They've got like a 1322 or something like that. It's a weird prop. It's got a lot of pitch to it. I want to find one of those and see if I can swap it in there to get me a lot more bite on the bottom end and a lot more top end. But other than that, guys, if you got any questions or comments, just post them down below, and I'll try to respond to them. I know a lot of people have been waiting on this video, and like I said, I wanted to do more coverage on the build and whatnot, but it would just, I never came out here with my camera. It was just, oh, I tinker for a few minutes and then go inside, and that's where you make the most amount of progress or whatnot. It wasn't, I would get a big discovery in one day. But I eventually want to simple up the exhaust a little bit, but I don't know if I'm able to, just because there's no room on the right hand side of the hole for the water box. So I'm kind of stuck with that. It looks ugly, but it does work. So, but like I said, if you guys got any questions or comments, I'm gonna go ahead and kill the video right here. Just shoot them down, or DM me on Instagram at thatblue4r. But thanks, guys, have a good one.